guys, welcome back to my channel. My channel's name is Speculative Magpie, and of course I'm Misty, and we are here to do something a little different. We're going to do a end of the month book roundup for July. And the reason why we're doing that is because despite the fact that I've read 6 books in July and recorded 6 videos, I have not posted any of those videos because I haven't wanted to make any thumbnails. So we're just going to do a quick roundup and talk about the books I read. And hopefully I'll be able to actually post this one and hopefully make a thumbnail for it. We'll see. I just haven't had the spoons for it, and for some reason I feel I can't post a video without a thumbnail. I don't know why. It's just the way my brain works sometimes, I guess. So in the month of July, I read 3 horror books, 1 thriller, and 2 smut books. So we'll go over all of those. We'll do the horror first, then the thriller, which will segue into the smut, which means if you don't want to stick around, because people don't really seem to like my fantasy and my other than horror stuff, which is okay, but still Speculative Magpie. I read what I want. So we're going to talk about the first horror book I read, Autumn Bleeds into Winter. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. When I got this book, I saw that it was on Kindle Unlimited, and I thought it was a completely different book. I did not think it was this book. I thought it was another horror book that I wanted to read. Now, for Autumn Bleeds into Winter, I'm going to read you the synopsis, and then we'll talk about it really briefly. Okay. Autumn Bleeds into Winter by Jeff Strand. 1979, someone has been abducting children in Fairbanks, Alaska. One of the victims was 14-year-old Curtis Black's best friend, Todd. Curtis saw it happen. He knows exactly who did it. But he can't prove that it was his neighbor, Gerald Martin. The authorities find no evidence of the crime, and there's nothing they can do. So he's going to confront Mr. Martin himself. And this is just the beginning of his terrifying story. Now, while this was not the book I thought it was, I ended up really loving this book and giving it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I thought it was, while not really a horror, it seemed more like extra spicy Criminal Minds episode. But the confrontation between Curtis and Gerald was just nerve-wracking. It was awesome, this whole Mexican standoff that they had going on, and really Curtis having to somehow not be an awkward 14-year-old boy while he's fighting off this serial killer. This book was, you just felt for Curtis because, I mean, come on. I mean, no one's going to believe a 14-year-old that this guy's like, a serial killer and he's coming after him. Especially with some of the stuff that Gerald did to Curtis to kind of keep people to think that he's, not quite trustworthy. It was just fantastic. I loved this book so much. The climax of the book was just riveting. While it was not the book I thought it was, I am glad I read this book, and I just thought it was really good. I just really enjoyed it. So, like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. Now, the next book that I read that was a horror book was book 2 of the splatterpunk western series, The Hunger on the Chisholm Trail. So I'm sorry, my thing kind of jiggles. I don't mean for it to, but I can't stop it. All right. So let's read this and we'll talk about it. The first cattle drive of the season leaves Texas for Abilene, Kansas, along the Chisholm Trail. But unforeseen terrors lay hidden in the natural beauty of the land. In the heart of Indian Territory lies the sleepy town of Duncan, a friendly respite from the dusty land. But something lurks in the untamed West, a powerful creature that hunts to sedate its horrifying hunger. The land will run red with blood, and only Carl Beck has a chance against this ancient evil. Now, Carl Beck is an interesting character, and while each book is a standalone written by a different author, I am hopeful that we will see more of Carl Beck, because he's just a really cool character, and I loved him. This book I gave a 4 out of 5 stars because I did not love it as much as I loved the Magpie Coffin, but it was still fantastic. You had 2 different groups of characters you were following, the people on the trail ride and the people in Duncan. And then when everything cumulated with them, coming all to Duncan, the end was just fantastic. I loved the characters, because again, the thing I love about this series is these characters that we love so much are not perfect. I mean, Carl he's not powerful. He doesn't know everything. He gets tossed in jail because he was drawing like demonic symbols on the bar in the saloon. He was actually trying to teach them a protection spell, but you can't just go around drawing magical symbols in the middle of Old West and expect people not to freak out a little bit. But it was just really, really good, and I'll say it again, I wish somebody would take this series and just make it into a whole bunch of movies, because this would be like my kind of Western. It was really a lot of fun. It's not a long book. The first 2 books of this series are free on Kindle Unlimited, so if you're not quite sure, pick them up. Check them out. They are well worth it. I'm looking forward to reading book 3, which is Dust, which actually follows a character that had just a tiny cameo in the Hunger and Chisholm Trail. But yeah, 4 out of 5 stars, worth the read. Now, my next book was also a book that I got on Kindle Unlimited. I was actually shocked to see this book on Kindle Unlimited. Oh, and I'm going to put the covers up just so you can see what I'm talking about around here somewhere. This one is Tinder is the Flesh by Augustine Bazterrica. I am so sorry if I butchered that. And Sarah Moses was the translator, okay? So here's the synopsis. Working at the local processing plant, Marcos is in the business of slaughtering humans, though no one calls them that anymore. His wife has left him, his father is sinking into dementia, and Marcos tries not to think too hard about how he makes a living. After all, it happened so quickly. First it was reported that an infectious virus has made all the animal meat poisonous to humans. The governments initiated the transition. Now eating human meat, special meat, is legal. Marcos tries to stick to numbers, consignments, processing. Then one day he's given a gift, a live specimen of the finest quality. Though he's aware that any form of personal contact is forbidden on pain of death, little by little he starts to treat her like a human being. And soon he becomes tortured by what has been lost and what still might be saved. This book is a trip and a half. I read this probably about 3 weeks ago, and it is still sticking with me. This is probably one of the only books that has literally disturbed me in a long time. I'm not talking just like, I'm talking like, oh my God. Just, Marcos is a little different, okay? Marcos remembers basically the before times, before this virus hits. So he remembers not eating humans. He remembers when there were still animals around, cause people slaughtered every animal there. So there's like only birds left, but people have umbrellas because the government said that if the birds poop on you, you could get the virus and die. And so they have basically raised these humans. They're like processed. They have like hormones so where they grow faster, but they can't talk. They're not looked on as human. And Marcos remembers a time where that wasn't happened, where it wasn't like that. Special meat wasn't even thought of. And you're reading this book and you realize how fast this happened. We're talking like really fast, that they went from cannibalism is bad to, well, is it really? Kind of thing. And when he gets his gift, which is like what you would consider giving someone a bunch of like really expensive steaks, that's what he's given. And you're watching his, he's trying to think of her as this special meat, but he still has issues of thinking of people as special meat. And it's just such a weird book, and it just pops up in my head every now and then, parts of this book and things. And I gave it 5 out of 5 stars simply because it's such a cliched way to say it, but it is thought-provoking, especially now, which, viruses and governments and mandates and everything else, and that's pretty much what this book is. So, but it was just really good, and again, it's free on Kindle Unlimited. Sorry, I have the hiccups. You like my little cauldron mug? But so pick it up. It's worth the read. It's disturbing. There's things in there that are hard to read, but it's really good. It's really, really good. Highly recommend it. It's a horror book. All right. So those are my 3 horror books. Now, my next book that I read in January is one of my comfort authors. It's not Darcy Coates, it's not Charles DeLint, it's Heather Graham. Heather Graham, I have mentioned her before. She writes paranormal-esque thrillers. To me, they're cozy because they're very formulaic. This is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and it all ties up into a neat bow at the end. I'm going to read you the synopsis, and then we're going to come back and talk about it. A year ago, archaeologist Leslie McIntyre barely survived an explosion that took the life of her fiancé, Matt Connolly. Since then, she has slowly come to terms with both her loss and the unsettling ability to communicate with ghosts, a gift received in the wake of her brush with death. Now she returned to Lower Manhattan, the site of the explosion, to investigate a newly discovered burial ground. In this place, restless spirits hold the secrets not only to past injustices, but of a deadly conspiracy against the city's women, including Leslie herself. By night, Matt visits her in her dreams, warning her and offering clues to the truth. By day, she finds herself helped by and attracted to his flesh and blood cousin Joe. Torn by her feelings for both men, caught between the worlds of the living and the dead, Leslie struggles against the encroaching danger. As it's drawn closer to the darkness, she must ultimately face down the power of an evil mind alone in a place where not even the men she loves can save her. Now, I like Heather Graham, like I said, because they're formulaic, but this book broke the mold. Again, starts off pretty normal. There's either a man that has lost the love of his life, or a woman that has lost the love of her life. And somehow it has given them psychic powers. And they somehow get involved in a murder investigation, and then somehow one of two things happens. Either the crew of hunters comes and helps them solve the crime, or it's the Harrison investigation, which is another paranormal government investigation group that helps them solve the crime. Now, in this one, Leslie's the one that lost her true love, and Joe works for Harrison Investigations. Now, Joe doesn't have psychic powers per se, but he's a little more open to the whole investigation thing. Leslie uses her psychic powers to kind of help her find out burial sites for her job, which is as an urban archaeologist kind of thing. And so this site where all this stuff is close to where this like historical home is, where the explosion that took her husband Matt away. Well, she somehow gets involved with this whole serial killer that's picking off prostitutes, and Joe gets involved because he gets hired to find this missing woman that was a social worker that kind of helped the prostitutes. And so it all kind of like convalesces into that. Then there's a whole bunch of red herrings and everything. I really enjoy Heather Graham's books. I enjoy her characters. I enjoy her writing. I enjoy her stories. But if you're looking for deep, meaningful thrillers, these are not them. These are fun. I love the crew of hunters. I love Harrison Investigations. I just love the whole paranormal thriller theme to it. It's got a little more violence than a cozy paranormal mystery because the violence happens on screen. And as a weird way to say it, I kind of like that. So Heather Graham, I gave her 4 out of 5 stars because she did exactly what I wanted her to do, even if the ending had a bit of a twist to it that I did not see coming. So I really loved it. If you've read Heather Graham before, definitely check out her Harrison Investigation series. It's worth it. It's a lot of fun. I just really like her stories. All right, now we're going to talk about my 2 smut books, okay? So the first smut book that I read is actually book 2 of the Erudian test subjects. All right, I reviewed The Scorpion's Mate a while ago on here. I loved that book. I thought it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. It was weird. The sex was alien-esque sex. You know, there was no, big giant blue whatevers. This one here, 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't love it as much as I loved The Scorpion's Mate. Basically because nothing really happened on this one. All the action happened on the Scorpion's Mate. The Kraken's Mate took place on a ship, and they all sat around and talked about their feelings a lot. The main character, all right, let me read you the synopsis, okay? A desperate escape from a prison cell inside an alien research facility leaves Joanie in the clutches of an alien with a handsome face, a great body, and tentacles that could have come out of a horror movie. Her life back on Earth is a mess, but nowhere near as complicated as her new situation becomes when the alien test subject named Neiman decides that she's his mate. Neiman knows that Joanie is the mate he's hoping for as soon as Thrax hands her to him. But he can also see she's frightened and traumatized. He must win the battle against his own body, which has a mind of its own, to maintain control so he can win her trust and avoid frightening her further. His newfound friends warn him that Joanie will need time to accept him, and Neiman is willing to wait. But they may have underestimated Joanie. They have escaped their fate as Erudian test subjects, but Neiman and Joanie can't escape the legacy left behind by their captors. A legacy that brings them together, a legacy that also threatens to tear them apart. Now Joanie's a bit different. While the other women that were rescued were going to be used as, breeding test subjects, Joanie actually has a genetic disorder. So she couldn't be used as breeding because she was technically defective. So they used her for experiments. So she was extremely traumatized. In fact, she couldn't escape herself. The scorpion Thrax from the first novel had to actually carry her and give her to Neiman to save because she just couldn't do it. She just couldn't leave. She was too scared of everything by what they had done to her. And Neiman, most of the time when you read these kind of novels, you're reading for this huge alpha, a-hole kind of my woman. Well, Neiman's not really like that. He's this huge giant himbo. He's overly sweet, overly protective. He doesn't really like other people touching Joanie, but he's like, I gotta give her space so she can come to terms with what's going on. And so he does, which is, very rare that you read in these kind of books. But it's basically like the first 300 pages are them kind of doing this, well, he's hot and I like him. And then they'll like kiss and make out a little bit, and then she'll freak out and he's like, oh my god, I've traumatized her, I'm the worst person ever. And she's like, no, it's okay, we'll try again. And then they'll make out a little bit, and then they'll freak out for whatever reason. And then like the last 100 pages of this book is like, oh yeah, plot, we gotta get stuff moving to do stuff, because then the bad guys from the first book come and they kidnap Joanie, and then they have to go rescue her, and then of course they rescue her and they end up on a planet and happily ever after, maybe. We should see until next book, I'm not sure. But for what it is, it was fun. I mean, Neiman's a sweet character. I really like this series. I'm planning on reading the third one, which is The Serpent's Mate. I'll get around to it eventually. So yeah, I think it's worth picking up if you can read it for what it is. This one is not action-packed like the first one was. There wasn't even as much sex in this one as there was in the first one. It was a little weird as far as the sex goes, because he has a mating tentacle that they removed when they first genetically altered him, but when he found Joanie, it grew back. So yeah, there's a whole thing about that. So, but yeah, it's not your typical peen and vajay kind of sex, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. So yeah, there was that one, and then the second book that I read was Glacier, Elemental Mates #1. Okay, synopsis. He is ice cold. Both his personality and his skin. When his icy gaze lands on me, it freezes me temporarily. But the first time he touches me, sparks fly. Not the romantic kind. The tattoos on his pale skin illuminate, and they are brighter than the northern lights. And then something in his eyes change, making him less callous, less cold, and making me hot. He says he needs me for something important, something monumental, but I am not easily swayed, even if he's gorgeous and I do need his help. I guess we'll see if I can melt his heart before he chills me to the point of no return. Alright, so this is another series, Elemental Mates. They're trying to find their true mates to help them reach their full potential, because when they touch their mate, their magical tattoos glow. I did not really enjoy this series. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I guess I like my my aliens to be a little bit more alien and less humans with tattoos that glow. There just was nothing that really stood out in here. The world has had an apocalypse. Aliens came, basically wiped us out. We've destroyed the planet. These aliens come and humans are trying to like survive. And so this chick like sneaks onto this alien ship to steal food. Of course she gets caught. They touch, he glows. He offers to save her family. They go save some more women so other aliens can have magical glowing tattoos. It's just not my thing. I didn't enjoy it. I won't be finishing or continuing. There was one that sounded kind of interesting about a germaphobe. I think it was Tempest. Next one was Inferno, then Tempest, then Whirlwind, or I don't know. But yeah, I just won't be continuing this series. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because while I won't be continuing it, there were parts I enjoyed. I thought it was well written. It's just not the kind of alien smut that I wanted to read. He was a little bit more alpha asshole than I like, but a lot of people like that, so whatever floats your boat. I mean, I read Morning Glory Milking Farm and gave that 5 out of 5 stars. So read what you want. All right. So that's kind of a long video. I'm going to cut it under 30 minutes. Hopefully. I got a couple minutes now. So I've already read 2 books this week. So I will hopefully be putting up some videos at the end of the week, if I can feel like making thumbnails. If not, you might get another one of these at the end of the month. But I just wanted to say thank you for coming back so we could talk about some books and things. And I will see you next time. Bye, guys.